On the left side of Finland, there was the Kingdom of Sweden, one of the most expansive kingdoms of its time. On the right lay the Russian Empire, one of the mightiest empires in history. Naturally, these two powerful states didn't refrain from warring with each other. Swedes and Russians clashed, and amidst these conflicts, the Finns suffered the most.
Yeah, boy.
Their unfortunate political circumstances weren't enough for the Finnish people's suffering. God seemed to have cursed them along with the land they inhabited. Finland consisted of barren lands, dense forests, useless rocky patches, and harsh, enduring winters. Yet they were stronger than what Sweden and Russia might have imagined. Despite their geographical and political disadvantage, this nation managed to survive as a distinct entity throughout history without being erased from the stage. Let's delve into how this was possible. The remnants of settlements in these lands trace back to around 6000 BC. Although the exact origins are uncertain, delving into the roots of the Finnish language connects us to pagan tribes that emerged from southwest Siberia. This connection indicates their migration from that region to here. The Finnish people, believed to have arrived around 10,000 years ago, continued their lifestyles akin to those in southwest Siberia. Living in tribes and believing in pagan practices, they sustained themselves through fishing despite a brief agricultural period in these infertile lands. They had adapted entirely to the harsh cold of the region. Despite the infertile land and harsh climate, the Finns found contentment. They lived in harmony with nature, pursuing a tranquil life centered around hunting. Both their beliefs and their environment allowed them to preserve this way of life for thousands of years. Approximately 7,000 years passed in this manner after their arrival. The geographical features of the region made it challenging for invaders to conquer, safeguarding their culture from distortion. The Finns successfully defended themselves against invaders in these adapted lands. However, as kingdoms emerged and warfare evolved, the Finns, unable to adapt to the advancing warfare due to their isolated lifestyle, became targets of major kingdoms. The assaults began in the 12th century, starting with the Kingdom of Sweden. Sweden attempted to extend its influence by launching attacks on Finnish territories in a bid to spread Christianity. Over 2 centuries of escalating attacks led to significant massacres among the Finnish population. Despite their efforts to defend their lands, they could only withstand the modern military techniques of the Swedish army for 2 centuries. In 1323, Finnish territory fell under the dominion of the Kingdom of Sweden as a result of these wars. This invasion laid the groundwork for the Finnish state. The Swedes established control over the Finns and imposed their religion and language upon them. However, their actions weren't solely destructive. They also contributed to the area's development. Helsinki, once a small fishing village during that period, was urbanized by King Gustav I of Sweden. The city was developed to rival fish trading centers like Tallinn, affiliated with the Hanseatic League. Starting from Gustav I and continuing through subsequent rulers, investments were consistently made, striving for the city's advancement. As a result of these efforts, Helsinki became one of the most crucial fish trading centers in the region during the 17th century. Following several unsuccessful attempts at resistance against the Kingdom of Sweden, the Finns accepted their fate and submitted to the commands of the Swedish king. Through their loyalty, they gained autonomy privileges. Thus, under the Kingdom of Sweden, in their autonomous regions, they continued both Swedish language and culture alongside their own language and culture in harmony. Even today, many Finns proficiently speak Swedish due to this historical process.
Back then, we had to learn Swedish, but now we only use it to understand IKEA instructions.
Over approximately 400 years, the Finns learned Western culture, military techniques, and legal systems from the Swedes. However, this dominion would eventually come to an end. A nation had emerged to the south, steadily expanding its territories, the Russians. The rise of the Moscow Principality, evolving into an empire, marked the end of Swedish dominance. Now, there weren't just one, but two colossal powers. For Finland, this situation had both positive and negative aspects. One positive aspect was that during peacetime, Finns mediated between Russians and Swedes, fostering trade development. However, the negative aspect was the constant wars erupting between Sweden and Russia. Between these two expansive states, approximately 10 major wars occurred between the 1500s and 1800s, and during wartime, the Finns suffered the most. The final war between these two powers took place in 1808, known as the Finnish War. It was a massive conflict, intensely fought both on land and sea. Russians battled Sweden relentlessly for a year to take control of the area. The outcome of this war would determine the ultimate victor of centuries-long conflicts. The war lasted a year, and eventually Sweden surrendered, entering peace negotiations with Russia. In 1809, the Treaty of Frederikshamn was signed between the two states. According to the treaty, Sweden ceded the Finnish territories it had ruled for about 400 years to Russia. Though the Finns didn't gain independence, they acquired more freedoms under the rule of the Russian Empire because this region held little importance to Russia. Through this exchange, the Finns glimpsed the possibility of establishing their own state. Initially, Finnish became the official language in this autonomous region. Subsequently, the Russians permitted the Finns to have their own assemblies, and finally, in 1917, with the collapse of the Russian Empire, Soviet Russia accepted the Finns' demands for independence. Thus, in 1919, Finland's first president became the liberal nationalist, Carlo-Juho Stalberg. This entire process was a lesson for the Finns. They learned the importance of independence and freedom firsthand. Moreover, they experienced the governance styles of two different major powers. The experiences they gained facilitated the Finns' faster modernization compared to other civilizations. Indeed, Finland being the first country to grant women the right to vote and stand for election wasn't a coincidence. With the painful lessons they acquired, they built their country on solid grounds and, in the last century, made the right moves, elevating themselves among the most prosperous nations in the world.